Hi, good evening. If I was to think of a family who truly embodies the desire to be transformed by God as a family, the family that comes to mind, the Hincos. Every year, the Hincos will review, update their family goals. These are goals they wrote with the primary desire to challenge themselves to be closer to God. And they do this religiously every year.
The Hincos, they are a haven of evangelizers. They are a family who would use their gifts and talents and exhaust all of them to give all to God.
Truly blessed to know the Hincos.
Hi, this is Anna.
And this is Ricky.
Lyzette is a loving and caring wife and mother.
And Errol is a loving and most caring friend.
Hello, I'm Jeff and Michael, and one thing we can think of about Brother Errol, he's smart, practical, and prudent.
He's a funny guy too, and he's a great cook. And Lyzette is a great support of all of that. And so listen to their talk. They're one of the greatest couples to be around with.
I agree, so listen attentively. God bless.
Now, without further ado, I want to introduce to you our speakers for tonight, Lyzette, and Errol, the Hincos.
All right. Thank you. All right. Well, good evening, brothers and sisters. My name is Errol Hingco, and this is my beautiful and lovely wife, Lyzette. And you'll meet our kids soon. For the past 20 years, I woke up next to this woman every day. For the past 20 years, when I woke up in the morning, I open up my eyes and I look at her and I says, wow, I could have done better. No, I'm just kidding. But truthfully, I'm actually her number one fan. Lyzette is an awesome wife. She's actually my ticket to heaven. And our family is a microcosm. This is a microcosm of our family, humor and the love for God. So we laugh at many things. We laugh with each other. Sometimes we laugh at each other. We laugh at our problems, hoping that it will go away, but usually they don't. And we even laugh at our children. So enough with the laughing. Normally this talk is a 45-minute talk, but we're gonna try to compress it in 30 minutes. So what I'm gonna ask the participants that we're not gonna be able to read all of the scriptures here. So please, when you receive your participants guide, you can read them. The past two talks are the two most important commandments: loving God and loving the neighbor. So as Brother Alvin's prayer today, our closest neighbor is our family. So we're gonna tie talk number 5 to talk number 6 to our talk tonight, which is talk number 7, the Christian family. You know, giving a talk, it really made me nervous to give this talk because I've never done a Zoom talk before, and I can't see the reaction of the audience. So I'm gonna ask you guys a favor. If you can please, if there's anything that struck you about the talk, please type it in the chat box. And to encourage you guys to do so, we'll pick 2 winners randomly selected for next week, and we have some great prizes. So once again, anything that struck you about this talk, please type it in the chat box. Go ahead and tee it up, hon.
Okay. So just to provide some context about the challenges the families are dealing with, the family as an institution is under attack. The family has been under siege since the very beginning of human history. When the serpent in the garden tempted Adam and Eve, the very first family, human family and marriage, was dealt a fatal blow that has reverberated down through time. So let's go back to a few stories in the Bible. In Matthew's account of the Holy Family fleeing Egypt, there's mention of another family, the Herodian dynasty. And this powerful family of rulers was like cruel and mean. So they're ruthless, often killing both perceived and real enemies, including the innocent male babies of Bethlehem. Herod the Great and his sons had numerous marriages, and most of which ended in either divorce or execution. So let's go further down during Jesus' ministry. Remember that a time when Jesus talked to a Samaritan woman by the well. Well, that woman has had 5 husbands, and even the one that she was with at that time was not even her husband. And then remember that story of the woman who was caught committing adultery, where Jesus said, "Let the one among you is without sin be the first to cast a stone at her." Well, all of these stories tell us that the family has always been challenged since the beginning of time, even during the time of Jesus.
Okay, so that beautiful creation that God made billions of years later. So we will fast forward, like I said, billions of years later. It doesn't look as beautiful as it used to be, right? I mean, if you look around us, we have abortion, euthanasia, gay marriage, cohabitation, pornography, contraception, and even the institution of marriage is being challenged. Millennials don't want to get married anymore, and those that do, they don't want to have children. Why is it that our society is okay with killing the unborn? Years ago, you would never see an advertisement on TV of contraception or condoms, but there's a lot of it now that you see more and more every day. Our society's moral compass is falling apart. This can lead to moral decay, which can eventually lead to a complete collapse of our moral system. If you look around us, is this the plan? Is this the society that God has planned for us? Does it look like we're winning the moral war? So tonight, brothers and sisters, we're going to have 3 topics that we're going to be talking about. First one was what is God's plan for the family? Why is God's plan not happening? And then lastly, what can we do to ensure that God's plan happens?
So let's start with God's plan for the family. Number 1, God has intended the family for the transmission of life. So let me read to you a couple of verses from Genesis, the book of Genesis, chapter 1. And it says, God created mankind in his image. In the image of God, he created them. Male and female, he created them. God blessed them, and God said to them, be fertile and multiply. Fill the earth and subdue it. Have dominion over the fish of the sea, the birds of the air, and all the living things that crawl on the earth. So this passage may speak to you in multiple different ways, but there's one very important message that I'd like to point out from these 2 verses, and that is that the institution of marriage is meant for procreation. And that is why marriage must be between male and female. There's no other way. That's just the way it is. I have a millennial niece who's probably like turning 30 years old. And she got married a couple of years ago. And after the wedding, we were expecting or waiting for her and her husband to start having their own family and having their own children. But she told my sister, who's her mom, that she and her husband don't have plans of having children, which was disappointing to say the least. She even said that she's contemplating on freezing her eggs in case they change their minds later on. So now my parents and my sister are scrambling to lecture her on the importance of having children. It's similar to what just Errol said earlier, that some millennials don't even want to have children. So that particular story is not what God's plan is for the family. Not being open to procreation is against God's plan for the family. God has intended for married couples to be open to procreation, to have children. And so the number 1 plan for the family is procreation.